Welcome to Valor Conversations. I'm your host, Jay Trainer. Valor Conversations is powered by CSB Ministries and is the official podcast of Christian Service Brigade. For more information, please visit csbministries.org. And now, on with the show. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Valor Conversations, the podcast that is powered by CSB Ministries. And for several weeks, we've been involved in this series, providing some interviews with some key brigade leaders on gearing up for the upcoming ministry year. And it's coming quick. And it's amazing to me how quick we've moved through this series. Joining me today for the series, Brigade Tune-Up, is Howard Pike, who has a great story, a great backstory to his brigade experience. And he has a long time involvement in Christian Service Brigade in Canada, which is really cool. As an adult battalion leader for 40 years, 28 as a captain, Howard knows the value of battalion missions and what it brings to the health of a local unit, a local church. Howard has served on the editing team for battalion missions and is currently the president of CSB Canada. Howard, welcome aboard. It's great to have you here on Valor Conversations. Looking forward to our talk today.
Well, thank you, Jay. It's great to be here. Nice to be able to talk to you face to face, but over the internet. I do live on the West Coast, so it's beneficial to have Zoom and this conversation.
Yeah, a few hours back, but hey, this is still a great opportunity, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So I was
awesome.
born.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you go ahead, Howard. That's fine.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, Jay. I'm really off track now, but that's all right.
No, it's okay. So let's. I'll take the lead on this one. So Howard, let's start where you were introduced to Brigade. The quick snapshot of your journey being involved in it. Kind of give us that timeline, your Brigade backstory. I think hearing the backstory in someone's context of involvement with CSB helps us connect to each other even more.
Yeah, I was privileged to be born into a community, a church that had Brigade. And so from my earliest recollections, I was part of West Island Baptist Church. Actually, at that time it was Strathmore Baptist. And my parents were founding members, and it was easy for me to get involved. But because of the situation in Quebec at the time, churches were collapsing, and I was then being going to different churches as churches amalgamated, disappeared. Anyway, I ended up being back at my own church when I was 15 years old. And the very first day I was there, Mr. Hambley comes down the church aisle as we're all leaving the church from that first service. And he said, why don't you come and join our battalion? My brother and I decided, yeah, we'll join. And I've been part of Brigade ever since.
Wow.
Even when we moved out from Montreal to Vancouver, I stayed in Brigade. And then when I was transferred from Vancouver to Toronto, I stayed in Brigade. And when my wife and I had our first our son, and we said, okay, it's time to go home, and I moved right back to Vancouver and started back in Brigade again. So during that time, I've been a battalion lieutenant, which I loved. And then I was battalion captain, and I loved that too, but it was a lot more work, a lot more responsibility. And then I became a ranger, and then a lieutenant again, and then back to captain, and so on and so forth. Just loved being as part of Brigade. So 51 years in Brigade, and
wow.
40 all but
doing the math.
All but 4 of them being in battalion.
Wow.
Of course,
so you have a whole bunch of experience as a student through it, as a adult leader in it, and not only that, you've also been through the context of the culture that is Quebec and East Coast, West Coast, and back East Coast, West Coast again. it's neat how the Lord has given you a great story and a great experience with several different cultural fronts with this.
Yeah, I am amazed at what God has allowed me to witness. The pastor who was my pastor at West Island Baptist went on to become the head of the French ministry for the Baptist Fellowship Conference. That was just knowing him and being part of that was important. And moving here to Vancouver and then moving away again and getting involved in brigade, actually being able to attend Camp Kakika in Ontario, the CSB camp there was just fantastic. It gave me connections that I didn't even know I had.
Wow. Okay. So let's move forward in terms of the resources that you've had experience with. Let's talk about battalion missions, especially maybe how it's interwoven within your story too, as a leader within brigade. This serves really as a great resource for leaders, particularly for the older guys. If I'm a brand new unit leader, how would you describe what battalion missions are and their use in different units? And how have you used this particular resource maybe for your own units over the years?
Yeah, that's a really good point you're making there. Battalion missions have been a foundational tool for me as a brigade leader and as a captain, and also when I was a young leader, and now that I'm even an older leader, I find these missions are a great tool for refocusing my efforts on what's important. So let me back up a little bit here. Battalion missions are a great resource for battalion leadership teams and for brigadiers. They've been around since 1978. They were called activity patches back then, but they were a great help to us then, and they still are. Battalion missions allow a battalion to spend 4 weeks focusing sharply on a particular subject, say astronomy, knot tying, orienteering, etc. There is a growing pile of them, but they aren't limited to just the practical skill. In fact, CSB has been very intentional in making the skill an object lesson for a Christ-centered spiritual trait. In wilderness survival, it's endurance. In orienteering, it's trusting God. Every meeting in a battalion mission is anchored on the spiritual trait. It's found in every council ring. It's found in every squad meeting devotional. This is the very nature of brigade. Whether it's in stockade or battalion or in tree climbers, we plan a meeting by starting with its spiritual purpose, its spiritual impact. And in battalion missions, we take it one step further. As you know, the 7 points of valor are a very important part of the Christian Service Brigade.
Absolutely. Honor. Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they are. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. This is good.
Honor, courage, chivalry, purity, loyalty, obedience, and dedication are the 7 points of valor. So we try to tie each mission to its appropriate point of valor. For orienteering, it's obedience. For wilderness survival, it's dedication. Each of the 7 points of valor is firmly rooted in the Word of God. This is a hallmark of Christian Service Brigade's discipleship programs. We are rooted firmly in Christ Jesus as revealed through his word, the Holy Bible. You asked how I've used these in my battalion. Well,
yes.
they have provided us with a good pattern for the doing of brigade. And I don't expect to do more than 2 or 3 missions a year. A fourth one's possible. I've always thought we could get a fourth one in, but there's other things that we want to do. And so we would get 2 or 3 of them in, and we were happy for them because they allowed us to build a pattern of doing brigade so that we had the squad meeting at the right time. We had games at the right time. And I know that other groups have different opportunities for, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. There's a lot of intentionality. I'm filling in the dead space right now while you grab a drink of water. There's a lot of intentionality behind these, right?
Yeah,
from what
exactly.
It sounds like. Yeah.
And the intentionality is also in providing us with a template for us to do our own activities, because we are going to want to do some canoeing, because our group has a set of canoes.
Well, that's awesome.
And we're going to want to do that every year, and we're going to want to do a little bit of orienteering every year, and certainly want to do knot tying every year. But we don't want to do the mission every year. We just want to do a bit of it. So having these missions to give us a template, to give us a good background of information, allows us to be very effective in the use of our time with our battalion guys. And of course, there is that spiritual aspect that comes through the council ring, and that comes through the squad meeting, and we are able to build our junior leaders, our non-coms, with the battalion resources that a mission provides.
Amazing. Now, with regard to this, you say you typically pick out 3 to 4 per year, and a typical mission, just as a follow-up, a typical mission will take about 4 to 5 weeks, roughly.
Yeah, usually we provide four meetings for a mission, and then there's a 5th meeting tacked on, and it can be a regular meeting, or it can be a Saturday event, or even a weekend event, where a guy is able to focus on, or where the battalion is able to focus on the particular skill to some greater degree. And it does allow us to have a lot of fun, and we can invite parents or other guys who aren't normally part of battalion to participate as well.
Yeah, it can also thus serve as a recruiting tool of sorts to find other men in the church, to find parents that may, for whatever reason, may not attend church, but yet here's a possible foot in the door for families that aren't regularly involved in some capacity, right?
Yeah, exactly. And one thing about the battalion missions is we try to put information in them, skills in them that I as a leader wouldn't normally have. And as I'm looking for resources to support doing this mission, one of those resources can be people in my church who have the skill sets that we need to show the boys. And so we can recruit people from within our church and even from outside the church to demonstrate the skills that we aren't proficient in. So we create more visibility for our brigade unit within the community and within the church, and we get more people involved with what we're doing. And of course, there are boys who may just be interested in wilderness survival. Come on out to our wilderness survival camp, and a dad as well might want to come out and do that.
I feel like I'll be watching an episode of the show alone, just with you guys north of the border and whatnot. With that, I don't know if you're familiar with that show, Howard, or not, but it's a neat show about wilderness survival and being mentally tough and being able to work through the different obstacles that come with being in the wilderness for an extended period of time.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
So, it's a great show. It's on at least down here in the United States, is on the History Channel. So, having served on the editing team, which you let me know about this ahead of time, you've served on the editing team for battalion missions, and knowing that there are cultural differences between stateside and Canadian culture, and even within the respective countries, there's a lot of differences, right? We've already alluded to this. You've been part of French Canada. You've been on the East Coast, West Coast. How have you and your teams navigated through these cultural differences in putting together the missions?
I don't know how much of a difference there is culturally, because I've been involved with brigade on both sides of the border since 2003. So when we had our first joint meeting that I was involved with, where I met the staff of CSB USA, and I really appreciate the similarities we have. Many of the regional directors and I come from the same era, and we have done the very same thing. So, and part of that was these missions, because they were happening in the West Coast, on the East Coast, south of the border, north of the border, and they were all basically we're all doing the same thing. But there are some cultural differences, like feet and meters. They are different. And,
yes.
So when it comes to writing a module, of course, in Canada, we're all used to feet and inches. Our construction trade has never been switched over from feet and inches.
Wow.
So we've got to speak two languages here. It's not just French and English. It's metric and imperial. So we're glad to see the opportunities to talk metric every now and then. So when we're doing a module or a mission, we are making sure that we've got measurements in the appropriate terms for everybody. But the easiest way for us to ensure that we are culturally relevant is for the writing team to ask someone on the East Coast to review the stuff. I've been on the West Coast for 40 years.
Wow.
Actually, for 45 years. And it's easy for me to understand things from a West Coast point of view. We are much more laid back out here. But then again, there's the Canadian side and the American side. I just don't see too much of a difference, except for a bit of the language, and well, it's definitely the spelling. We don't understand how you can read things without a U in some of those words.
Check. Which is an interesting dynamic.
It is, but we do have a good editing team that we can make sure that we're not irrelevant by some of the things we say. And I'm old too, and I write with some old phrases, and I figure, you guys can figure out what those phrases mean just by telling me. And we do have a proofreader who lets me know when I'm gone into some deep dark corner of northern Canada that doesn't have any relevance anywhere else.
Fair enough. So let's discuss the value that you've seen and experienced in leadership team meetings. Much like before, if I'm a new unit leader, how would you describe what this element is to the success and the overall health of a unit? And to build off that too, how does this help with even church life or community life? What's the function of it? And how have you utilized LTMs in your leadership as a battalion captain over the years?
Yeah, we were very used to having monthly meetings with our leadership team. And then when along came these missions and the other names we had for them back in the day, and they always incorporated a leadership team meeting. And that leadership team meeting was just a phenomenal way to have us focus on the spiritual aspect of what we were doing in brigade. It's not about learning memory verses. It's not about ticking off the 7 points of valor on our checklist. What we're really trying to do is to incorporate a spiritual foundation in our entire battalion, and it's not just with the boys, but it's also with the leaders. And those spiritual truths that we're trying to incorporate are coming out of these missions. And for me as a leader, I'm comfortable talking about certain spiritual aspects, and I will tend to drift to the things where I'm comfortable. But when I'm doing a mission, that I'm not just looking at my areas of comfort. I'm being stretched. And so when we have a leadership team meeting, we all find ourselves examining a spiritual truth, reading a section of God's word, learning to apply it. And we're then taking it not just for ourselves, we're now applying it to the boys and the young men that are involved in our battalion, and learning how to get those guys thinking about their spiritual growth. What are their next steps? Where are they in Christ? And we definitely go into a season of prayer for the guys in our battalion and for each other, but we're trying to find does the Lord want us to connect with the boys and the young men that are part of our battalion.
It's good. Yeah. So these leadership team meetings, these LTMs, are pivotal for the development of the brigade ministry in that local church, and also connectional within the realm of church life overall, which is important. And the mission is discipleship, right? That's the name of the game with this.
Exactly. And I've had that underlined by the times where we've said, oh, we don't need a team meeting. We'll just skip this month. We'll skip next month. We'll do it twice a year. Maybe we'll just do it once a year. And invariably, it comes back to our need to meet together so that, as iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another, and we are doing that within these team meetings.
That's good. Well, we've discussed some basic things in our journey through this podcast series, Brigade Tune-Up, and we've moved into more pivotal and specific resources, like as things have unfolded, as we've gone along, just like what we're talking about today with these battalion missions, leadership team meetings, etc. What are some other resources that you've used to help fulfill the mission in the call of discipleship to the young men, the boys in your local church, Howard?
Yeah, that's a very good point to make, because we can easily focus on the big group activities, and a mission is for the big group, and it does work for the small group, the squad. But what about the personal journey that each boy is on, that each young man is on? And this is where I get excited about the battalion achievement program. That we have the Quest manual, we have classic adventure trails, we have leadership trails. These are important foundational books that allow a boy to take his own journey of faith. In missions, the journey is determined by the leadership. We're going to do it in 4 weeks, and when that 4 weeks is done, we're done. And if you miss, well, you miss. But when it comes to personal achievement, a boy can take that journey on his own with a mentor, with somebody in his battalion, a leader in his battalion, or even someone else in the church who is helping him go through his spiritual journey. We want him to go through at his own pace, not at some imposed pace by us. And we want him to hit all the details. And we don't know where he's going. Christ does. God knows. And he's going to have the opportunity. God's going to have the opportunity to direct that young man on his spiritual steps. We get to come along. We as leaders get to come along for the ride, but we are there basically as observers and as helpers to ensure that boy is connecting with Jesus Christ in a real and significant way.
That's awesome. Well, as we begin to wind down our discussion, our time together today, Howard, one of the things that I've brought up, one of the things that I've discussed with previous guests here on Valor Conversations has been the win, or the area of victory, or area of passion that just brings them to life, right? We kind of get a little bit of an inward picture of somebody's heartbeat, or what really drives them. How about for you? What is an area of passion in ministry that you have been a part of that really just brings and speaks life into you? What's your win?
I of course that passion changes but I've been involved in on area committees, on regional committees, and nationally as well. And as I've made my personal journey, I have really become quite passionate about the benefits of CSB to a church. And I would love to say it's all about the battalion missions. It's all about stockade modules. It's all about the things we do in the meeting. It's everything. When a church is picks up brigade and starts to use it, they should see their men change their attitude and become not just leaders, but become servants within the battalion, within their stockade and tree climber group, but also within the church itself. That men are becoming engaged in the Great Commission of Christ, that we are to take the gospel into all the world. And for us in battalion and brigade, it is just outside the church doors. It's not some foreign country. And when a man gets engaged in the doing of the Great Commission, he feels that he's really part of something important. So I get excited when I hear that men are wanting to get involved in the ministry of Jesus Christ at the local level. And I see what it does for a church as their men become more engaged in the doing of the ministry of the church. And it's just not limited to the brigade work. It goes into Sunday school. It goes into into other midweek programs. Brigade in a church changes the DNA of the church, and it changes it in a very positive way. And to me, men involved in the doing of Christ's mission is exactly what a church wants to achieve.
You're alluding to church growth and church thriving with this whole idea of discipleship instead of being on survival mode, right? How to grow a church, and for you and I, in the context of this conversation, it's going to be brigade, right? But maybe it is another men's ministry program that brings in men that ultimately ties in discipleship and whatnot. But there has to be intentionality behind it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Brigade provides a landing spot for a lot of men who have nothing to do in the church. They go to church, they sit down in the pew, they open their wallets, and that's the extent of their spiritual giving. And churches don't want that, but they don't know how to give them something else. Well, give them brigade, and those men will find a way they will connect with the Lord, and the Lord will guide them how that they can be more effective in the building of their church, not just the brigade unit, but with their church.
Awesome. So, open-ended question. Final question for you. Is there anything else you want to add? Howard, you get the final word. What do you think?
Yeah, thanks. Should have read the script before I started this. Final word. I guess this is a word of encouragement to the leaders who are out there. I've been a brigade leader a long time. I've seen pastors come and go in my church. I've seen my church where we've had a lot of support from the men's ministry. We've had a lot of support from the staff, a lot of support from the pastors, and we've seen times when we weren't getting the support. And those times where things feel very dry. God has a plan in that, and He doesn't leave us without options. As bad as things are at times, especially right now with us coming out of COVID, there's churches that are still wondering if they're going to start up with having brigade, at least in Canada, and we were shut down a lot longer than you guys in the States, and guys are wondering, is there something for me to do in my church? Well, yes, there is, and don't be afraid to start it and to do something with it, because if the Lord is calling you to it, and most likely he is calling you to something, since the Lord is calling you to something, do it. And if you get it wrong, well, you're listening to the Lord, and he'll fix it for you, and he'll change your direction. Allow the Lord to lead you, and you'll be fine.
Wise words. And if I can say it too, words of relief in what you said, the words coming out of COVID. I love seeing what we can move into. It's a new opportunity for churches and for brigade groups really to not reinvent themselves, but to push the and to show the relevance of this call to discipleship for our churches today. So yeah, exactly. And thank you, Howard, for joining in the podcast today, sharing your heart with me, with us, particularly regarding the different resources that are available to brigade units, whether they are known or not known for. And I'm guessing most of the people that will listen to this probably know about these different resources, but the refresher is good, especially battalion leaders like yourself. I appreciate your heart, and I appreciate the mission of brigade of seeing young men and boys become fully devoted followers of Jesus Christ through the discipleship process. Howard, thank you so much again. It's been an honor and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jay. Thank you for letting me be here.
Thanks for tuning into Valor Conversations with your host, Jay Trainer. Valor Conversations is powered by CSB Ministries and is the official podcast of Christian Service Brigade. For more information, please visit csbministries.org. And in the meantime, stay tuned for more Valor Conversations coming your way soon.